one more episode of Drug Discovery and Development with IronCure. I'm Sukant Khurana, the founder of IronCure. With me is a very good friend of mine, Dr. Brooks Robinson. Brooks and I were students together at University of Texas at Austin in neuroscience program. Brooks has then done wonderful postdoc in opioid addiction. And following that, he is a program director at Resilience Institute. We share the same passion for mental health. And Brooks has been working on, he has transitioned out of academia into looking at the bigger picture, trying to change people's lives. So I'm actually extremely amazed by his achievements, very proud of what he's doing. Instead of making this episode about IronCure, even though we are working on same field, I would actually like to just learn from Brooks what is he been doing and what is resilience all about.
Great, thanks, Sukant. Yeah, so I have a PhD in neuroscience and I studied addiction for many years. And like Sukant mentioned, I transitioned and I'm now working at the National Institute for Human Resilience in Colorado Springs. And our focus is really on helping the people that need it. And our focus is on resilience as well. So I'm going to talk about resilience a little bit today. And resilience is a really hot topic right now. We are told to be resilient in these especially difficult times. We are taught about the resilience of individuals and peoples throughout history. But what actually is resilient and what makes a person resilient? More importantly, why can two soldiers who experience the same horrors of war differ so much, and one go on with their life while the other suffers from post-traumatic stress disorder? And why can two siblings who experience the death of a family member differ, and one spirals into depression and one is able to carry on with their life? Resilience is defined as the capacity to recover quickly from difficulties. For psychologists, this is mental or emotional recovery from crisis, stress, or trauma. In other words, resilience is bouncing back. It is adaptation. There's a lot to bounce back from these days. Friends and loved ones are falling sick, people are losing jobs, and for those of us thus far unaffected, the constant threat of illness or hardship can be stressful enough to be traumatic itself. Luckily, while there are several different theories relating to resilience, it is fairly well accepted that there are ways that individuals can improve and promote their own resilience. Much of what makes a person resilient or not is thought to revolve around how an individual perceives both the potentially traumatic event as well as their own ability to cope with it. Now, don't get me wrong here. The traumatic experience itself is extremely important, but that experience is often very difficult to control. How a person views the events and themselves is more variable and more adaptable. For instance, if a potentially traumatic event is viewed as a challenge, the person is likely to successfully cope with it. If it is viewed rather as an unpassable impediment, it is more likely to remain traumatic in the long haul. Likewise, a person who is confident that they can cope with a given situation is unsurprisingly better able to have the resilient bounce back compared to someone who has a less rosy view of their own coping abilities. Mm-hmm. The crazy thing is here, these two hypothetical individuals could have the same actual coping abilities, but the one who views their coping abilities as more than sufficient will likely have the better outcome. The great thing is that these perceptions that I'm saying are so important are skills that can be taught and improved. Of course, there are many more aspects of resiliency, and I can touch on a few here. First of all, most psychologists agree that having a strong sense of connection is vital, whereas feeling isolated can be hugely problematic. Whether it is friends, families, coworkers, social groups, connections not only allow people to share their problems and feelings, but they provide a support network or a safety net that helps build resilience. Amazingly, even with social distancing during this pandemic and shelter-in-place orders, many people have worked hard on this sense of connection during the pandemic. For me, this has been a weekly Zoom chat with college friends that before the pandemic, I rarely conversed with. So text, call, video chat, stay in touch. It could really make a difference in you and your connections' mental health. The last thing I'm going to touch on is a concept called agency. In simple terms, agency is action towards an intended goal. People who set goals and act towards achieving them tend to be much more resilient in the midst of hard times. Inaction and stagnation can lead to more difficulty with coping and less resilience. Agency can take many forms. It can be self-improvement, get healthier, learn a language. It can be situational. Try and get that dream job, save up for a house with a yard. It can be helping others with their issues or any number of other things. The world in 2020 has changed drastically. There is widespread grief, hardship, stress, and many things will likely have changed for good. This is exactly why resilience is at a premium right now. It is not whether you experience these hardships or not, but rather the ability to cope, to bounce back, to adapt. Not only does it improve mental health, but it has the potential to set people up to thrive in the new world. With change, there is always opportunity. So today I've tried to lay out some key concepts in human resilience. And in no way does what I have said replace any sort of professional mental health care. And if you are in need of help, please do not hesitate to contact a provider. But I would like to stress again that resilience can be built and improved upon. Programs are emerging that are promoting resilience. At the National Institute for Human Resilience, where I work, our trauma experts have designed online training called the Greater Resilience Intervention Team, or GRIT for short, where resilience is promoted through reinforcement of self-efficacy, healthy coping skills, and interpersonal connections. By stressing human strength and capability rather than illness, this is a free program that has become popular and effective for people to help themselves and those around them deal with the stresses of the COVID-19 pandemic. I really encourage people that are interested in resilience to read more up on the topic, visit our website, visit other websites, and try to become more resilient, because that could never be a bad thing. View things as challenges rather than impediments. Trust in your ability to adapt, stay connected, stay active, stay engaged. Your history lessons were correct. Human beings are very resilient, and resilient individuals in these hard times will be in a position to make an impact and prosper in the coming years.
Brooks, amazing. I have been guilty of listening this time.
Even you can learn some things sometimes. You can't.
Yeah.
You don't know everything yet.
I thought it's difficult to improve over perfection, but maybe I'm wrong. So a lot of inside jokes that our audience will not get. We now know each other for what, 13, 14 years, right?
Yeah.
We go way back. Yeah. So those are inside jokes because we collaborated, and I have always been the stubborn one. So anyway. So Brooks, thanks a lot. This was genuinely amazing for our audience. I am curious. I'll actually go check out what your organization does. I'm really impressed with your work. Thank you for being with us at IronCure Drug Discovery Podcast. Those who are interested in knowing what IronCure does, please visit our website. It's in the comments below. Thank you.